Hello and good afternoon, good evening, and in some places, good morning. Welcome to this week's new episode of Primetime Gaming with Mr. BoomStick and friends. And folks, we have a lot of friends here today. In fact, we have two guests joining us. It's a dynamic duo making their way through the interwebs, exploding on the scene, doing podcasts at a family, in a family fashion that we don't ever really see in the podcast game. C Money and of course Doodle to be free. We're going to get to their intros in a second, folks. Just want to do some clarification. This is not Gran Turismo 7 for the love of Joe. It is actually Forza Motorsport footage that I recorded. I've been playing for a week. I actually did 3 shorts today, and in almost all of the comments, people were like, "This guy doesn't have a code. This is Gran Turismo 7. I am assuring you that this is not. This, in fact, is Gran Turismo 7. I mean, I almost said it again. Gran Turismo 7. It is not. Listen, real quick, all jokes aside, tomorrow at 11 a.m., I am doing a one-man show for about 60 minutes prior to sitting down with Mav at noon for X Vlog Live. So you ask why? Well, obviously, the review embargo has lifted from Forza Motorsport, and as much as I kind of wanted to really dive in this morning and give you my full review, I wanted to kind of get out of the way of everybody. Smart. You know, I've watched everyone's review so far. ACG's is one of my favorites. He's very honest, very thorough. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to be doing it not a very non-traditional way. I'm doing a podcast, and I already have how I'm going to break it down. It's going to be 4 different categories. I'm going to be answering questions live in the chat. I already have a ton of notes of what are my favorite tracks, what's my ranking with my cars, how many cars did I get high ranking on. I'm going to give you all the information, and ultimately at the end of that podcast, I will be giving you my full-on review. I have nearly a day worth of play into it. And I'll say this as just a bit of a preview. I did not expect to like it as much as I did because I'm more of a Horizon guy, but the accessibility on this game is bonkers. And obviously, I do have separate footage that I recorded using some really high-end cars on some high-octane tracks. This is just a bunch of footage that I've been recording behind the scenes that I can now show you. But let's get into the introductions first. And Doodle to be free, one half of the dynamic duo. How are you doing? Welcome. This is your primetime gaming debut. How you feeling?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having us. Thank you so much for having me. This is exciting. I'm really, really excited to be here.
Well, we're happy to have you. And obviously, we're going to continue the conversation because there's a lot of thoughts and there are a lot of theories on what happens to PlayStation now. Why did Jim Ryan go? Was he fired? Did he leave gracefully? Did he walk away because they weren't checking what he was putting down? We're going to get into all of that because the reason why we're talking about it is because some of the gaming media, I say some because we're not seeing a lot of coverage over this because people are afraid to move against PlayStation. I don't see a big IGN write-up about why he's gone and what's going to happen to PlayStation. No, they're not doing it. GameSpot's not doing it. Of all places, C Money, we get information from Kotaku. Now, again, if you don't know who Kotaku is, it's okay because they're as reputable as, let's say, I don't know, the Inquirer, where you go and pay for your groceries. C Money, welcome, brother. How you feeling? You've made the rounds. I think you've been on every show. And now this is official. This is official. What's up, brother?
I've officially been on every one of your shows now. So I don't know how many people could claim that. All right.
Not many, not many.
I
But
don't know. I
we're
feel like
happy to
I'm
have
pretty
you.
high up
How
there at this point.
you feeling, brother?
No, for sure. Thank you guys so much for having me. Boom. Thank you for welcoming my beautiful doodle who just went off camera. Are you off camera by choice, or did something malfunction and I
There
gotta
we
fix
go.
it?
You know
There we
I
go.
press buttons,
Just saying.
baby.
I gotta make sure. I gotta make sure. Gotta take care of my lady. So yes, thank you for welcoming her, having her. Boom. I'm sorry about yesterday. I was supposed to be on the show. My
Don't worry about it,
fridge
brother.
exploded.
Listen,
Water
No,
everywhere.
my
I
ice
get
cream,
it.
guys, my ice cream.
It was all gone. I had to go and get a new one. It was wild, so it was a hectic time, but we're
you
settled
got a nice
now.
model. That's gorgeous. That's a
Oh,
nice
thank
looking
you, thank you.
nice looking fridge for sure.
Well,
Compliments
if
the
your fridge
kitchen,
goes, you kind of have to
absolutely.
get a good one. You know what I'm saying?
Listen,
you ain't getting
if you're
another
gonna
one for a
spend the money, you
while.
might as well go all the way. But Que
Absolutely.
Asante, back here from vacation. You probably need another vacation from your vacation, but how are you feeling, sir?
First and foremost, I would like to say welcome to our honored guests.
Oh, thank
you, sir.
It's pretty cool to have you guys here. This is awesome. We're gonna get into it. The whole family dynamic is really cool. I think it's awesome.
It
I
is.
look forward to learning from you guys. This is awesome. So there's that.
Thank you.
Also, I should say, salute to the man Wandering Dutch. I'm rocking the shirt today for in solidarity. He posted a very interesting, very powerful video on his YouTube
100%.
channel today about mental health and his experiences. I suggest everyone go watch it. You know, and we stand with you, Dutch. If you happen to be watching, you know, salute to you, good sir. He's always there when I need him. So when he needs me, I will be there for him as well. So Dutch, I hope you're doing well. But no, I'm doing great. Came back from New England. Did a little bit of this. I did a lot of driving. A lot of wading through flood infested waters. I didn't get to see Boom because of it, unfortunately.
Yeah,
but,
I mean, it was.
You know,
it was
here I
crazy.
am.
One day that he's here in New York, they closed the
Mhm.
streets and the highways because I don't know. It only rained 8 inches of rain. It was ridiculous.
I brought it with me. Clearly, I came from Florida and I brought the monsoon with me. I apologize. And as soon as I left, the sun started shining. I'm sure.
Well, listen, we're glad to have you back. We, you know, you and I, we talk pretty much every day, and we were kind of discussing behind the scenes the whole PlayStation situation, and now we're starting to get Hargeet some really interesting takes from Schreier's out there. He's talking. There was apparently a significant amount of layoffs at Naughty Dog, which is always sad. Now, and before we bring in Hargeet, I do want to say this, folks. And I'm sorry that I have to say this. It's a bit of a caveat, if you will. I saw a lot of people, and I'm not going to mention names. I would never, because I'm embarrassed for them, cheering on these people that lost their job at Naughty Dog, at some of the other PlayStation studios. Folks, I really want to stress this. I understand the console wars better than just about anybody because I was there living them during the Nintendo don't, what Genesis does, that old crap. I was there. Don't cheer on people losing their jobs. If someone loses their job, it's a scary thing. Rent doesn't get paid, mortgages don't get paid, lighting bills and food not on the table. These are serious things. Don't cheer on and champion people losing their jobs because that actually sucks. And you know what? If you are, that makes you a real shitty person. I'm gonna be honest with you. And I really had to say that because I saw some stuff online that was just straight up gross, and I get it. It's social media. We are going to talk about what happened at Naughty Dog. It's unfortunate. It is ramifications of the online multiplayer being shut down or iced or however you want to put it. Yeah. But please, folks, don't champion people losing their jobs. I just think that's really, I mean, that's childlike, and we're all better than that. I'll just say that. But Hargeet, I love the picture. It is Jim Ryan lying. Hopefully, he doesn't get it. He takes the insurance while he's still working there, gets a nose job, gets that fixed because obviously that is a very long nose. Scary. Hargeet, how you feeling, brother? I mean, some of the stuff that's coming out, man, the direction that he was taking PlayStation, there was some resistance.
Yeah, apparently. Yeah, I'm doing well. It just got back from work and was just scoffing down some food. I'll probably go off camera and finish up in a little bit. But I have no idea what happened today. I haven't seen any news, but let's get into it. We conjectured that some of these things were going to be the case. It looks like we were probably right. Just is what it is. Moving to that games as a service thing is not going to go with everybody. I think in some ways it's good that the studios were pushing back because I don't want them ruined. Like, they make really good games. Let's let them keep making those games. I hate how a lot of major awesome studios have been destroyed by this idea of moving to games as a service or live games. Well, let's not keep doing that, and let's see if we and the lesson that should have been learned, which is what he said, the lesson we're going to learn from all the other ones that made mistakes. Like, the lesson is don't do it. Just don't do it.
Absolutely.
Well, I mean, there's something to be said, and I think that the best reflection that we can look at specifically for Xbox is what happened with Redfall. Now, the studio that made Redfall is notoriously known for making single player experiences with incredible lore and characters, and that's what they do. Well, apparently they were asked to do something else, and Redfall is what it is. Now, I'm not going to tell you that you should play the game, because I played it for 58 plus hours and enjoyed the absolute hell out of it. But I get it. It had a tremendous amount of shortcomings. There's just no doubt about it. But the truth of the matter is this is what happens when you take a studio that is known for one thing and you ask them to make something else that's out of their wheelhouse, even with help. It's not what they signed on for. And I'll start first with our guests. And of course, I want to bring in Doodle on this one, because I have a couple of articles that I sent you guys and gals. And one of them comes the way of Eurogamer.net. Now, I don't like a lot of the stuff they do because they're very PlayStation focused, and that's perfectly fine. But according to the article, which I have pulled up right now, and I just want to give credit where credit is due, this was written by Vicky Blake. It was published on September 30th. Now, again, we are into October. And the headline says, Sony's live service pivot may not pay off the way Jim Ryan had once hoped, says Industry Insider. Now, Doodle, we are starting to hear that Jim Ryan really decided that it was in the company's best interest to move with the times, take several of their high caliber, single player, story driven, adult themed studios and ask them to make games as a service titles. That is the new that it's and you know what? As much money as they make, not everyone can do it. In your opinion, and again, we this is all conjecture. We don't really know because we are not flies on the wall and we weren't in the room when this was happening. This could go one way or another. Jim could have been selling this bag of goods to Sony of Japan and saying, this is what we need to do to survive because our players aren't enough. He told us that. He told us that a couple of years ago, that we need to figure out a way to make more money outside of the traditional way that we make money. Now, Japan, Sony Japan, very, very traditional in their way. In your opinion, just, with what we have in front of us, how do you think this went? Did Jim walk away, or because he could not get done what he needed to get done for the company, and he's like, I got to get out of Dodge before this thing implodes? Or was he removed because they were not feeling his direction?
I feel like they sent his clown ass to go and kick rocks. I feel like he went ahead and he was very confident. He was very cocky about everything he was doing. And then there was a shift. There was a very clear, very desperate, very irrational man out there acting out as if he had something very big to lose. And I feel like they went to him and they said, if this ABK deal closes, you are out. And I think that was that desperation that he was reacting on. He was going ahead and he felt like his back was against the wall and there was nothing else to do but look out for Jim. Even if that meant that he was going to go ahead and take the PlayStation name and drag it, right? Because he did that. He went ahead and he dragged the studios. He said there were nothing without Call of Duty. This guy was out there acting out. And the only rational excuse that I have for that is that he had everything to lose, right? And for that, he was just behaving out of control. That's my opinion when it comes to that.
I mean, it's a solid opinion because, you know, he did do some out of character maneuvers to try and block ABK. He got out there. He said, now, granted, Dustin Legary, who I really do like, did a video the other day of some of the things that Jim Ryan has said, and he's not a great speaker. Let's just say that. He definitely needs a PR team around him to make sure.
But they had him contained, you know.
Yeah. Well, he went off. He went off the. You know, when he made the comments about, you know, I don't care about a deal. I just want to block your merger. I think ultimately that's probably what doomed the deal against Sony being, you know, the victim here. That was one of the things that he said. But it does make sense. You know, again, we're gonna, you know, for the next 2 hours, folks, we're gonna be here. We're gonna be discussing about it because we're not only gonna talk about what happens, you know, with Jim one way or the other, because there are a lot of really big theories whether he just left on his own because he saw what was coming, or he was asked to go. And I thought they were pretty kind because he wasn't kind to the former head of PlayStation. He was sent packing, and you didn't hear from him for about a year, which was I'm talking about Sean Layden, who was actually one of my favorite industry people. Yeah, I mean, if you ever seen Sean Layden, he was excited. He wanted to be there. He took chances on games. He's the reason why PlayStation 5 is successful, not Jim Ryan, folks. I keep seeing people pushing back on that. Oh, but Jim sold 45 million PS5s. Okay, yeah, I get all of that, but what about up until then? All the games that you know and love, those are all under Layden's control, and Jim Ryan got credit for it. So
PlayStation used to be fun,
yes,
and it's lost all of it. They've cornered themselves into these what do they call them? Old dad games.
Sad dad.
Sad dad games. You know what I mean? And it's like, you know, yes, they are amazing games. I love The Last of Us. They capture your soul. They go ahead and they make you connect to these characters. But the problem is that there are other players out there and you need to be diverse. You got to give us a little bit of everything. And that's something that Xbox does very, very well.
Yes.
And so I feel like now what they're doing with these games of services, what they're trying to do is it's the right thing. It's how they're going about it that is completely wrong. Okay, they need these games. They need to have more. But the reason why they're doing this is because they want to find the cash again, right? They want to go ahead and get that easy money, nice and fast, nice and quick, bring it in whichever one of these games, right? They're talking 10 to 12 games. If you're serious about this, find a studio, put together a team, and it shouldn't be an existing studio that works on these solo games, right? It should not, because that's not their passion. That's not what they do. So they're not going to excel at it as, you know, someone who's passionate about this or will want to come up with this type of idea would, because it is art. It is a way that you can only do it if you really want to, or if you feel that spark for it. And so they need to find the right team to go ahead and work on this. And it should be 1 to 2 games, right? They got wild talking about 10 to 12. Slow down, you know, and it's that hunger for money. I know they need it. It's desperate. Yes, they need it, but they need to tactically move forward because they do need more games. They need a variety of games to bring in the players. If you look at what they sell when it comes to the box, and then you look at the amount of games that they're selling, the math is not there. There's a huge gap.
Yeah.
And the way to go ahead and start building on these things is by going and making different games to bring in different players.
Yeah, 100%.
It's not something that they're doing.
No, I mean, listen, they are still very traditional. Look, here's the fact, folks. Spider-Man 2 is going to be effing amazing. That is a fact. Okay, it's going to give you an opportunity to use both Miles and Peter. Venom's in it, which of course they changed a bit on his origin. I'm pushing back a little bit because I'm an Eddie Brock kind of a guy, but we'll see if I'm digging what they're putting down. Craven, a big player in this. I think it's going to be an amazing game. Here's the problem. The problem is that their type of game went from taking to make their type of game 3 to 5 years, from now 5 to 7 years. And they don't have as many studios as Xbox, and they don't have that many games in development from what we understand. There's some of the games are years out. What do? Well, you do marketing deals like they've been doing, and they've been doing it to great success, folks. But that's not going to continue to pay the bills, and that's why they put these 10 to 12 gas games in development from studios that should be working on their first party. And it's a throw as many things at the wall, and whatever sticks works. The first thing off the board, C-Money, that should have been something, and I've been banging this drum for weeks, I'd even say months, is a remake or a revisit to SOCOM.
Yes.
That done right.
Yes.
If that was done right with the help of Bungie, they wouldn't be developing because they're still doing their own Destiny and they still have another game in development. But that's why they were purchased, so they could help. If you would get their expertise on how they built Destiny and you make it a SOCOM where it's like a 12-on-12 or an 18-on-8 or 18 or even a 24 versus 24, like it used to be on the PlayStation 2, you could actually give Call of Duty a run for its money. But we don't know if that's one of the games because they're not talking. How do you think this went down, C-Money? Do you think that Jim Ryan was shown the door because Sony Japan made the announcement and he didn't? And because the way normally these things work, C-Money, is you're going to step down and you make the announcement, but you say, folks, my successor here, Herman Holtz, is going to step right in. We've been working together, and he's going to take the lead. That is not what happened. Hiroki Totoki, who is the lead dude of Sony, is now taking over the decision-making at SIE. This is a really big deal. With that information, how do you actually think that went down? Now, considering that we're starting to get some anonymous Sony personnel saying that this is not the PlayStation that I signed on for. I'm here to make single-player games. That is what we love doing. They're not allowing us to do that anymore.
Yep. No, I mean, everything that's happening now is essentially just reaffirming what just makes sense, right? Like you said, if Homeboy was going to retire, this would have been a graceful ass transition. It would have been like, all right, April, my contract is up. I'm retiring in April. We're going to get this guy, whether it's Herman or Shuhei or whoever it is that they're going to bring up from within the PlayStation organization, right? Because that's where you want organic growth, right? PlayStation, right? Organic growth. So you want to grow the person who's going to lead from within. So you would have that person and you would groom them over the next few months. You would introduce them, tell them that they're taking over. And when I retire in April, this person is going to be the successor. But just like you said, that's not what's going down. They came from Japan. The guy, the Hiroki, whatever, his Hiroki
Totoki, yeah.
So he is second to only the CEO. He is the CFO and the COO. Yes. So he's multiple chiefs of Sony. Yes. All right.
Wearing another hat. Yep.
Yeah. And then now he's coming in, and they didn't say, all right, he's retiring in April, so I'm going to rock with him till April. They say he's retiring in April, but he's going to shut his mouth and go away on October 1st.
That's correct. Yes.
You know what I'm saying? So come this past Sunday, Jimmy Boy has been silenced.
Yes.
Right. So Jimmy has no say on anything that's going on. They don't even care about his ideas. They were like, you know what? You just go sit over there and you're done. And this is the thing, you know, Doodle was killing it, because this is what went down, right? We know, we have the emails, right? We have the emails. We know when this deal got announced, Jimmy Boy was out in them emails telling, I forget who he was talking to, but telling them that everything's okay.
Yeah,
I've already spoken with them. We're not going to lose Call of Duty. This is not an exclusive play. We're going to be okay. We have things cooking. Oh, we have so many big things coming. It's going to be amazing. All this stuff. Like he was not talking like someone who was going to retire. Okay. He did not have that type of heat on him when he was like, well, what a way to go, huh? I'm going to retire soon, and this is happening. Damn it. No, he was cocky. He was like, we're good. We're not losing the game. Everything's fine. We're going to get the good deal. We're going to keep having the thing. Everything's going to be fine. And then you did see it, man. There was a switch, and it just, like that, all of a sudden became stressful. And then again, now you see all the words about how he was forcing this games as a service on the teams. And we already know that never works. It never works. Anybody who's been forced to make one of these games has failed. The only people who have stuck it through and survived are the people who worked on it as a passion project. That's it. Not out of desperation. Every time it's been done with desperation, it's failed, right? And that's just the reality of what it is. And I mean, listen, you have people now being let go from Naughty Dog, right? I mean, obviously, when was the last time we heard Naughty Dog letting people go? It's funny that I don't remember a time in any recent years, right? So they went ahead and had to let these people go because it's tied to that games as a service that got put on ice. Yeah. You know, Jim, I think what is easy to see is that Jim, he forgot that he was part of the winning team. He was part of the leader. He was part of the biggest company in gaming right now. And what he started doing, he started acting like these third-party publishers. He started acting like these desperate companies who are saying, oh my God, we need to be relevant. So we need to go ahead and make these games as a service games. And as we've seen, every single big company who's decided to go this route, whether EA, Ubisoft, they all failed.
Yeah,
they all have failed. Now, obviously, you have the one-offs like Apex Legends, but that was all. I consider that as part of like the main, like first bunch of winners. You know what I'm saying? But then after that,
you had a lot of copycats after that. Obviously, PUBG, Fortnite, Apex Legends, those continue to make money. Now, there are some others in there that are a little bit smaller. Genshin Impact is another big one that continues to make money. But there are not a lot of them, and there's been a lot of people that try to make these games work. If you remember, Microsoft got clowned on for Sea of Thieves and Grounded and Minecraft and Minecraft Dungeon. And guess what? All of these things have millions and millions of players.
It does.
Yes, but why though?
And that's a good question.
Why? Because Philly allows them to have the time, and he gives them the budget to go ahead and perfect their ideas. They hear the consumer, and they go ahead and give them what they want. And I'm not sure that PlayStation's able to do that.
No, that's a great point.
They can't afford to do it. No, they can't afford to do it. And now the thing is, when you hear the list of games that are successful in this, it's actually pretty easy to kind of separate the fact that they're all unique in their own way, right? Fortnite has their own lane. Yeah, it's a battle royale, but they have all the character skins and all that stuff. It's a fun, goofy time, right? And you have fun with it, right? You have PUBG. That's that military, right? Really military focus battle royale, and that was one of the originals, so it has its people already ingrained in there. Apex is the first person shooter version, right, where they have their own unique things going. Like all of the main ones are different. Then you add Xbox to the picture, And then you look at what their games of service are and what games of service have they had that are successful. We all kind of put away Bleeding Edge, right? That was one of the first ones that they came out with.
And
that Ninja Theory, who's an amazing studio, they came out with this game, and Xbox said, okay, you guys have it. This is when they immediately got purchased. So Xbox really didn't have anything to do with this outside of saying, okay, yeah, finish it and put it through, right? But they came out with the game. Now that one didn't stick. Why didn't it stick? Because it wasn't unique. It was a copycat of other games in that genre. It was similar. People were already over that because they already had their big boy hero shooter game that they wanted. So there was no place for Bleeding Edge. But what has stood the test of time? Well, Sea of Thieves. What is out there like Sea of Thieves? Nothing of relevance.
Yeah.
Right? Grounded. I mean, there's other survival games, but they took a unique approach. Grounded, having you miniature, having you do all these things. They had an angle that made it unique, and they were able to blossom and grow that way. Right. And then all their other games, you're in the kind of the same boat. Anything that's been successful is kind of unique in its own way.
Yep.
And this is just because they have multiple things in their favor. They got the budget and the money. They have the teams that are passionate for it. And that's the biggest one, because they have the teams who want to make these games. Philly is not walking into any of these offices saying, yo, you guys used to make this, now you're making this. No.
Yeah, that's everybody not the Microsoft way. Yeah.
No, it's what passion you have. The passion you have comes through in the games you make. And that's why these people that are making these games have found these audiences that resonate, and people stick around and they want to be there. It's obvious when you see that PlayStation running around doing it the exact opposite way. They're going into their studio saying, hey, listen, you guys figure some shit out. I need a games as a service.
Yeah.
Make it happen. I don't care what it is. Make it happen. Oh, you guys are making factions that was just going to be like a multiplayer mode like it was before, and people actually like that. No, I need you to take that, figure out how to make that as to a games as service. Okay. It needs to be its own thing. We're going to drop the Last of Us name. It's going to be its own brand, everything. And then let's hire Bungie. Let's get the real help.
That's the dumbest thing.
let's
hire
help.
Let's freaking buy Bungie. He's a businessman, but how in life did he come to this decision? This was the dumbest thing
because
ever.
All his decisions before now we weren't paying attention to because he was in Europe alone and nobody was paying attention to his ass over there.
Yes. Yeah, he was.
You know what I'm saying? So he was living that life. We're over here rocking with Sean Layden.
Yeah, he did very well with the way that he ran the PlayStation business and how they used the marketing of the power of the brand to great success. I mean, listen, he's a good businessman. He had 4 years under his belt as head of SIE here for the States after he was promoted. And the one thing I think people are forgetting, and I do want to bring in Kay Asante and Hargeet on this, is the fact that these decisions for businesses like PlayStation are years in advance. They make these decisions early in his tenure, in his 4 years, and they are where they are now. Now, maybe it's 24 months of you guys got to figure this out, because look at what Microsoft is doing. Yeah, we have first-party games, but after this, nice grouping of, your Horizon 2 and your God of War sequel and Spider-Man, and we're not going to have anything, so we need to do what they're doing. Kay Asante, let's bring you in on the conversation, because you and I were talking this morning, and we don't know where in the timeline of 4 years that Jim Ryan looked over at Xbox and said, we were clowning on them. We were sitting on our laurels. We had God of War. We had Horizon. We had that other shooter from the company that they purchased that was really good. They have, Gran Turismo came out, regardless of whether you liked it or you didn't. They had a lot of things in place, but they don't have games as a service in place. Now, Microsoft, if you take a nice step back and you pull an I Steel Rain and you do the third person all the way back view, they have Grounded, they have Halo, they have Sea of Thieves, they have now ESO, they have Fallout 76. I know I'm forgetting a few, But but the one I'm not going to forget.
Minecraft Legends,
Minecraft
all that.
Legends, Minecraft
Dungeons, which they're actually like dungeons, which they realize that it doesn't make as much money as the others. So after the very next DLC, they're done with it. They're just moving on to the others. They have many choices. But yes, continue.
But what is also going to be a part of the conversation is Warzone.
Mm-hmm.
Now
it won't be part of the conversation. It's going to dominate the conversation. Clearly,
but once
you got World of Warcraft.
World of Warcraft.
Jesus,
you have Warzone.
It's crazy.
And you also have, I don't know, Candy Crush. It only made $20 billion since it launched. I don't know.
Just that little game.
So
as soon as we own it, that's gonna be on the front page of my phone. I'll be having Candy Crush there, playing in between gaming sessions.
Think about all of that farming that's going to go on for money, where they're now going to be able to make further publisher acquisitions, further studio acquisitions. Mm-hmm. They're going to be able to tell their teams, hey, you got a wacky idea? You know what? Take your team of 6, go hash it out. Let us know when we can come take a look at it. There's no rush. We're Microsoft. We have the money. And this is where you're going to start to see Microsoft get a little weird, a little PlayStation weird, because they're going to be able to afford to do that. So now, Asante, we get back to Jim Ryan. Jim Ryan is shown the door, certainly more kinder than he's shown the door for Sean Layden. I said that earlier, and I want to repeat it because I did not like what they did to Sean Layden. And now Sean Layden's making some big bucks over at Tencent. That's where he is right now. So he's not coming back to Sony. He's making some real big bucks. How do you think that this went down with the new information coming out of Kotaku, coming out of GI.biz, coming out of all these different sources that are now people within PlayStation are starting to speak? And the games as a service thing is not what they want to do.
Yeah. Honestly, I think Doodle made a lot of points. She hit the nail on the head there.
Thank you.
I mean, in general, I would probably think that what did Jim in is what usually does Microsoft in, which is doing the inside voice thing out loud, right? You can do all your service games you want, but don't say it out in public to the point where people just start getting scared about it. Seriously. Oh, we're releasing 10. That was the death knell. Like, release 10, but do it quietly in between all your normal releases. See what happens. Some will stick, some won't. It'll just be what it is, right? It should have been kept on background while they confidently move forward because they are the market leader. Instead, they literally did one of their exorcism, turn your neck backwards, look at what the third place finisher's doing, and start like doing that as if what you're doing is wrong, right? And it showed weakness publicly, right? Combine that with the idea of, our studios are worthless if we lose COD. All of that out there. Remember the last time a publisher or anybody of note started dogging their studios? Remember what happened shortly after they started dogging the studios? Oh yeah, that was Square. And we saw them selling them stuff off a mile away. You do that strategically, right? But once you do it, you can never undo it. You can't say they're trash and then later on go, well, I guess that didn't work. Let's go back to work, folks. No, you got to go at that point, right? Whether they are trash or not is not the point. The point is you said that in public, right? And you said it for effect and you said it for the purposes of getting something. And then that thing you tried to get didn't happen. So yeah, now you got to go. Absolutely, right? There was just no way around it. Had they won, maybe we'd still see him around right now, right? Because, hey, you can go in the background and go, look, man, I'm sorry, Price, your studio's amazing. Without Insomniac, we wouldn't be where we are today. And look, we won. So, it was all strategic. But when you lose after throwing all of them under the bus, the only thing you must do is the Japanese thing, which is fall on your sword, which is what's happening right now. Right? So it seems. Now, the reason why I hypothesize that that's exactly what's happening is because exactly what Boom said, right? Normally, there will come a time where Phil will go, you know what? It's time to, hit the old pastures. It'll happen. Everybody's like, oh, no, it's never going to happen. It will happen, right? And when it does, all you have to do is ask yourself, ask the community, who's going to replace them? You're going to find 3-4 names just roll off your tongue, and chief among them being Sarah Bond, which is the right answer, by the way.
It is the correct answer. Yes.
I will be upset.
Yes.
But you can tell there's grooming there. You can tell there's a master apprentice thing going on that will then change hands at some point, right? We see that. Even when ABK becomes part of the fold, and then you go, who's going to run that? There's many names you can throw out there as well, because they show that they have a plan in place and all of that. So as soon as that happens, oh, don't worry, there's continuity. This is my right hand man or woman. They got the baton. Let's go, right? You don't see that here, right? You see, okay, he's tired. He doesn't want to travel anymore. Okay, those are all valid excuses, or valid reasons, I should say. Right?
I see what you did there, sir.
No, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to make the Freudian slip. I didn't mean that. I'm saying, in the world of Zoom where everything can be digital, it's fine. You couldn't come to court, but you're still traveling too much. It's okay. Let's move forward, shall we? All right. Imagine he is ready to retire. Are you telling me we wouldn't say, well, hey, here's Herman. He has the baton. He knows exactly what we're doing. Nothing to see here, folks. Continuity. We're fine, right? Everything's good. No, that's not what happened. What happened? A, he's gone. B, we're going to shut him up tomorrow, right? He may be lingering for 6 months, but don't mind him. He'll just be around looking for his papers, because he'll be shut up tomorrow for some reason, right? And we're going to bring the CFO and COO, who already wears too many hats, in to wear this hat. And oh, by the way, this is the guy who says, like, the way forward for Sony is mobile. That's the guy you're bringing in. He's the big mobile guy, right? This all tells me that maybe it was a problem of messaging internally, right? Maybe it was a problem of messaging to the LT, the leadership team. He didn't thread the needle well. It didn't work out in the long run, and at some point during the process, they said, hey, man, you're out on a limb. If it doesn't go your way, you know what's going to happen. And he went, no, we'll be fine. We'll be all right. And guess what? It didn't work out for you. So he's not all right. Right. And what sucks about it is, while he was playing those chess moves, right, it's going to all end up falling on not just him, which, let's be honest, golden parachute time. It'll also fall on all these contractors and all these guys who are dreaming of working at Naughty Dog, and they got their chance, and now because these moves didn't work, this experiment failed, blew up in everybody's face. Here we are, a bunch of really seemingly talented, passionate people now looking for work, right? So it sucks. I personally can't see it any other way. I can't see it any other way, because, like, I want to be wrong. I do. I want to be wrong. But I guarantee that the very next move we hear from Sony proper is kind of undoing what was done. I call that the connect is optional moment, if you know what I'm saying. The minute that the connect is optional moment happens, take your poison. Either, I don't know, PSVR 2 becomes all of a sudden PC capable. Certain gas games all of a sudden mysteriously vanish and disappear. They get canceled officially. The connect is optional moment. The minute you see that, he got ousted. So I'm just waiting for that moment. It hasn't happened yet.
I don't think they can afford that moment, bro. They're not Microsoft. Microsoft can afford that moment. Sony can't afford to take all that money they've been spending on these games and just saying, fuck it, we get nothing for it, just wash it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't think that's going to happen.
You have heard Schreier talk about how, hey man, don't worry, this other game here is probably not even going to happen anymore. Like, they have on background started kind of distancing themselves, but there's got to be a connect is optional moment. There has to be. And remember, Totoki's not going to be there permanently. They're going to actually look for a replacement. And when that replacement shows up, unless he has the same vision as Ryan, but just knows how to sell it better, there's going to have to be a pivot. Right? Because remember, and for those who don't remember, and for those who think I'm clowning, we were going full bore in one direction. Then all of a sudden, Connect became optional. And that was when the boat started slowly turning, right? And Microsoft is where we are now. And now everything you see is the Phil show, right? Until Connect became optional, it was not the Phil show. And even after Connect became optional, the Phil show kind of didn't happen until after 1X and all of that. It took a long time for for the past problems to be resolved by the new guy and then his own vision to start. So we're going to start seeing that, unless, of course, we see somebody who's full bore exactly in that mobile direction as well. And then in which case, hey, then maybe he was really just tired and needed somebody else to continue on that path. We shall see, you know.
Okay, are we going to see them bring somebody up, or are they going to bring from outside? Are they going to go try to find like the guy who runs Take Two and say, "Yo, come over here and run PlayStation"?
Oh no, don't do the Everborn Saga thing. Oh yeah, every 5 minutes it's like bring the Brinks truck to Strauss Zelnick's house. No,
right.
An upgrade. It is.
I put it this way: if I may interject, if you were going to bring
Please.
the Brinks trucks, it would be, hey, we want someone to run ABK. Zelnick run the show.
No, I would say Vince Zampella. What are you talking about?
More.
Yeah, Vince is
Or
good.
Peter Moore. Peter
More.
might be tired though. Peter might be a little, you know.
I
I
want
don't
You
know.
guys own things
Peter
going
can
on
never
right
be
now.
tired.
Peter back. When I say
I don't
Peter,
think
I'm
he
going
could
to
ever
put you
be
over
tired.
here.
Mm.
Yes,
Yeah, that's
keep
true.
He's a machine.
He's one of those
Peter
guys.
Yeah.
until they get Sega. Then let him come and run Sega for 5 years. That's
You know, yeah, you know.
But
No, honestly,
would he go
go
back
ahead, go
to Sega? I think he would want to go to a bigger challenge. Taking like the 15, 17,000 employees of ABK, that's a bigger challenge.
he do very good with it too. No doubt.
But
They're
about
already.
it. But
I mean, Phil said when he bought them that they're going to be like they already kind of gave us the chain of command, right? Like after Bobby's out, they're going like Phil is in charge of them. You know what I'm saying? And he showed his team
he's
of
in charge
people.
of Bobby, right? He's going to be in charge of Bobby. That's what's going to happen.
Yeah,
And
but
I
when
don't know
Bobby's
how long-
gone.
Yeah, I don't know. how long
Oh,
he's
okay.
gonna
So
be
you're
there.
saying that he's in charge of Bobby. What my thought? Okay, I thought when I heard it, I thought it was more of like when Bobby's gone.
Yeah, I think you're
They
talking about the
are-
quote about the games coming to Game Pass, right? And
Yeah.
that is
Yes.
Phil's decision. Phil decides where the games
Yeah.
go.
Yep.
But
Yeah, exactly.
even after that though, like even if there's a replacement to Bobby, it's still Phil's decision, right? He's just saying that at that top, whether Bobby's there or not, that's not his burden to bear anymore. It's the big dog's burden to bear, and that's his, right? And by the way, I've seen this in the chat, and I have seen this everywhere. I've heard this from the mouth of Everborn Saga. I think it's hilarious, ridiculous, and insidious. Bobby Kotick for PlayStation CEO. Oh my God, what a world! Holy crap! What happened?
I have not seen.
That would
I
not
want
go
to see
well.
that world. I just want to see the world burn. That would be
could
amazing.
happen. I mean, the other one would be
would.
Peter Moore for freaking Sony for a few years.
Ooh.
That would be wild.
It would be
Yes, it
huge.
would.
It would be
Yes, it
huge.
It would be
massive
yeah,
foes
that-
right in the Sega
I'm
time.
gonna say no. I don't want him over
I don't
there.
know. You know, it's an
I
interesting.
feel like then
challenge.
you got to look at Peter Moore differently. You know what I'm saying? That is like you taint the name. It's like how
Maybe,
dare you go
maybe.
to that side?
Oh man! Well, listen, let's. You know what, Hargeet? Before I bring you in on this, and obviously we're gonna let you go because I know you have a lot to say, and we want to hear every word of it. I do want to thank EJ Jackson in the chat. First of all, he's generous enough to drop a $2 super chat, but then on top of a $2 super chat, he has gifted someone, and please, by all means, thank him publicly, a Forza upgrade code for Forza.
Oh, that's so
Motorsport,
nice.
which is awesome. Now, again, if you don't know who EJ Jackson is, this is the gentleman that wanted to gift someone in the community a $300 Starfield Collector's Edition. I thought it was a little bit too much, to be honest with you. Hopefully he did find a home for it, and I do appreciate his generosity. That is a lot of money being donated by a very, very generous person. So EJ Jackson, brother, thank you for being here, and thank you for the continued generosity. We have Capital Dream drops a very generous $5 super chat and says, "Hey, Boom, you should do an actual side-by-side for both since they don't believe you. I actually don't have Gran Turismo 7. I was hoping that it would come into the service that I have now canceled because it's still not in there." So I mean,
Boom,
that's
real quick.
Yeah.
This footage right here, it looks like real, like
I
actual
was just gonna
recorded
say that.
television. It's just nuts.
yeah.
It's
That
just
shit looks so
realistic.
beautiful.
Look at the damage on my car. That's how that's not how I drive in real life, folks. But look
Well,
at
we
that.
saw how you drive. We saw the footage, Boom. All right,
Listen.
nobody was saying nothing,
No,
but we saw a lot
everyone
going on in the
knows
footage,
how
Boom.
I
all right?
drive. That's all I'm gonna say. Everyone always
Boom, I would have
accuses-
hit everything.
No,
Everything
people
on my
think
way.
My drivatar is nuts. He knocks everybody out of the way.
Now I see why he didn't go over that bridge there, Boom. I see you.
There you go. There you go. There you go. Dean Rivera drops a very generous $5 super chat. And this is very true. Lots of disingenuous comparisons of Forza and GT7 on Twitter. Never realized how toxic Twitter was when it came to console warring, and it's shameful. And indeed, unfortunately, it is. Son of Skyrim, who's been a channel member for 2 months, brother. Thank you for being a channel member. He says this: Jim Ryan spent millions to buy exclusive rights to games. In response, Microsoft spent billions to purchase the studios. Jim woke the sleeping giant. Indeed, he has. We have James Thomas.
Yeah, this is all a reaction to what Jim has been doing. Phil is reacting. You woke the beast, buddy.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, they
now you went night.
They poked the sleeping bear. They knocked down the beehive. Eventually, you know what? I mean, see, Money, I don't know if you're as old as I am. Probably not. But on the back, Hargeet might remember this. On the back of the Marvel comics, like when we used to have their summer ads, there used to be that one page in the back where the bully would be kicking the sand in the face of the guy on the beach, no arms, whatever, skinny guy. And then the summer goes by, he gets cock D, and the next page he beats up the big. That's what happened here. They kept clowning on Microsoft so much that they're like, you know what? If we can't, join them, we're just gonna buy them, right? And that's exactly.
You put Xbox in the gym. You made them bulk up, bro.
Yeah,
you don't make the dude who can own the gym go to the gym. You know what I'm saying? You just let him feel like he's just in the game. As soon as you poke him and you push him to that point, dude. Again,
now it's not like Donkey Kong, as they said.
The studios, they bought the building. Microsoft doesn't need to buy studios; they buy buildings, bro. They take everything that comes with it.
So, do we think that's the reason why? Do we think that's the reason why they got rid of him? I'm sorry, Doodle, go for it.
No, it's okay.
Yeah, I was asking, do we think that's the reson why they got rid of him? Because it's like, hey man, why'd you wake them up? We should have left them sleeping.
I think that he really, I think you said it, where the show, when he made Sony weak publicly, that was considered a tremendous dishonor for the fine folks in Japan who consider honor to be the utmost importance in being a person. Your honor, your integrity. What he did to try and get the deal blocked, even though Sony would have loved to have it blocked, was considered disrespectful, would be considered dishonorable. And what he ultimately did, and he did this on Front Street, folks, is he said that his first-party studios are not as good or as important as what Call of Duty brings to the platform. That is crazy town talk. So, I
mean, I still think they made him do it. I think they put him in a position where he had to do something, because again, it just doesn't make any other sense, bro. As soon as this deal is essentially approved, and the reason I say essentially approved, because Sony signed the deal. Right. Yeah. Once Sony signed the deal, it's done. There's nothing else that's going to happen. Xbox is not going to let this not happen. If the CMA decides that they're not going to let it go, which they are going to approve it, but even if they did, he's just going to close over them. Phil's not going to drop every country in the world outside of them. And I mean, FTC already lost, so they already had the trial here, so that's not going to happen. So it's like, they're not going to do it. So they're going to close. So that's why Sony signed a deal, because they knew it was going to happen. And he had to sign a worse deal, the worst possible deal
he did.
That you could have gotten, because you only signed for what you were already going to get.
That's Call of Duty.
He was going to get Call of Duty regardless. So the fact that he signed for it's fucking stupid. Like, there was no point. They just signed a deal just to say we signed the deal. But he lost all the benefits that Phil was offering him off the rip.
If they would have came to the table and signed the deal early, and they would have gotten probably all of ABK stuff. Now they had
it. That was the original deal,
which is fine. James Thomas drops a very generous $5 super chat and says, I think Redfall will be the next State of Decay 2, which is a good thing, given the lore and support for the devs to what it's become today. Listen, look, I get it. Redfall isn't everyone's bag. I get it that it wasn't what you were sold, you didn't expect. But I put 50 hours in. I played as Layla the whole time. I love the character. I beat it. I started playing a second run through on with a different character. I would love to see that get the State of K2 treatment. Now, will it happen? We don't know. We don't know.
No, it's not going to happen because unlike State of Decay, which is a passion project, which is a studio who wants to make that game, who has plans and dreams for that game to get bigger, and they want it to last. Redfall has already been moved on from. The people there's still people who are working on it. There are people who are going to fix it and get it to where it needs to be. But Arcane Austin's already moved on to the next project.
Yeah, and they're working on.
They have no
else.
love for this game. They didn't want to make this game.
It's unfortunate.
They were told to make a game as a service. Maybe a version of this game existed in their heads before Bethesda said, "All right, great, I like that pitch. Now make it a games as a service." But that game is long gone, man.
Yeah,
the game's long gone. It's morphed into something else, and I think for them as a studio, Arcane Austin, I think they just need to move on. You know,
yeah. Well, I mean, if more than likely they have, and it's unfortunate because the game there's bones there. But the last super chat I'll read before we get bringing Hargeet is going to be BT Maverick 707. He says this after dropping a very generous 10 super chat says, I'm kind of curious if the reverse happened, where Sony asked Jim to do all of the anti-ABK actions, which would have been something if he didn't want to do and decide to leave after the fact. Just food for thought. I mean, you don't know. We're never going to know until maybe Jim Ryan writes a book or something. But Hargeet, let's bring you in on the conversation because this is
writing a book.
There's a lot to unpack here. Yeah, I don't know if Jimmy would write a book or not, but it would be interesting.
Flying, Lying, and Crying. The memoirs of Jim. No, I'm sorry.
Oh my god.
Imagine he actually went into it like that.
Oh my god, that would be great. Memes that would be a bestseller.
Dude. It'd be a bestseller. People would, if he leaned in, it'd be so good.
It would be, yeah.
And then you like see the real Jim Ryan. He's actually like a really funny dude. He's not all stressed and shit. He's like, you know what? I'm tired of PlayStation. They've been on my back all this time. I'm free.
I'm a free man. Now I'm gonna walk that walk.
Oh my god,
Hargeet,
that's hilarious.
This is we reacted last Wednesday to the announcement, and since then I know you've been on a couple of shows and you've really dropped some really big bars. But we haven't had a chance to talk about it. Where do you kind of fall on what side? Did Jim walk away because he saw the potential that PlayStation was going to implode? Because remember, you're only good as what you did last. Now, granted, Spider-Man is going to be lasting for them. People are going to be like, oh my God, PlayStation, Spider-Man, this is great. But we don't know what's happening for all of next year. In fact, we don't even know if Wolverine is 2025 or even further out because Insomniac, I mean, they're carrying PlayStation. Where do you fall? Was he removed because of what happened with ABK, or because of his vision of games as a service for PlayStation when they're very traditionally not that?
Yeah, I mean, this is an interesting one because we don't really know, right? But as I think when this happened, we did have. I think I came on your show. Was this like a Friday or something like that? Either way, my conjecture has always been: look, and I think you guys have already said it, right? Is if you were retiring in general, somebody at this level, you would set up your succession. You would make sure that like your vision will continue, right? And even if it's going to deviate because the next person has their own ideas, fair enough, right? But you would make sure everything's all set to go, right? And then you would leave it in a spot where everything's going to be an easy transition. Not you're suddenly going to stop doing what you're doing, but be around as a puppet, I guess. I don't know what the heck you're doing, but you're just there for 6 months to collect a paycheck, which usually when that happens, this is you getting to go find your next job. That's usually what that is, right? So, so I'm just guessing from the outside that that's really what it is, right? But now here's an odd thing, right? On Lemon, One White Dragons, his show, Hip Hop Gamer was on, and he said, "Well, I can't reveal much, but behind the scenes, I think what's happening is that there's going to be a transition to somebody that we're all going to be very happy with, right?" So, and I'm just paraphrasing what he said. So maybe they do have somebody in mind, and they are just in negotiations, and it's going to happen. But it still seems kind of odd that. So, in other words, even if that was the case, I think he got ousted, and they're bringing in this other person. Because if it wasn't that way, right, then it would be, hey, I'm retiring. I'm bringing on so-and-so to be my successor who's going to be with me for the next 5 months, 6 months. We'll transition cleanly, and then I'm going to step away. He'll take over, or she'll take over, right?
Yeah, they would have waited.
That did not happen, right? So my assumption is this is bye. we don't like where you're going, and we're taking over the decision rights, and we'll figure out what's next, and we're gonna go find the person we want and switch over, right?
So Hargeet, quick question from me. Quick
Yeah.
aside, because you said that and it spurred some logic in my head. When you said, "Hey, Hip Hop Gamer saying something somebody we would all be happy with," my brain quickly went, "Who would be a Sony person or Sony adjacent that we would all be happy with?" Now I have one answer that is right for me. I'll spit it out and I'll see what you guys think. To me, the right and only answer is Shuhei Yoshida. But I'm sorry.
I love
Let us
that
move
pick.
forward.
I think
That'd be
that's
weird for them to do that, though. Like to drop him down,
Yeah,
and then
he was
to
putting the
to
outhouse
not only
down.
lift him up,
that'd be
but to
riding the
skip
ship.
everybody and go to run
That'd
the
be
ship.
riding the ship, baby. That'd be
I don't know.
riding a wrong of a long time ago, baby. That'd be riding the ship.
No
'Cause
idea
he-
who it is,
it'd be-
but yes, it
only
could
one
very
that
well
make
be.
me happy.
You don't know
Very well
Shuhei?
could be. I mean, I
You
don't
don't
know.
know
who
Shuhei
else
I
it
get
is.
what you guys are saying, but this guy does not seem like he's here to just stop by. He's talking like he's here to stay. And I understand that they're saying that is until they find somebody else, but he's talking about mobile being the future. He's talking about he's talking as if he has a plan of in which direction he wants to take PlayStation. And so in my mind, I'm not looking around, I'm paying attention. They're saying this, but he's coming out here and he's acting as if he's going to stay. They already shut Jimmy up. Okay.
Yeah,
and
they did,
so he's acting as if he's thinking of the next moves for PlayStation when it comes to being modern, when it comes to evolving, when it comes to the future. And I feel like that's a line we need to pay attention to, and we keep overlooking it.
Now,
You know,
even-
that's so
sorry.
it makes damn. It's so true, because if they were gonna have just like this interim period that they're waiting to bring somebody on, why would they shut Jimmy up? They're basically saying you're stopping to make decisions now. There's nobody else who's going to be able to make decisions. There will be decisions made from now to whenever that other time supposedly comes.
Perhaps.
So
So it's just like, let's stop.
Jimmy's
the
not
leaking,
making them.
right. Let's stop the boat leaking. Right. Maybe that's all they're doing, and they're bringing on somebody else. And that's the thing to look at. I think what you're mentioning, Doodle, is that like they're looking for a different direction, and it may not be going backwards. It may be going way forwards and saying, look, the market has moved mobile. That's just a fact, right? And if you look at the next generations, it's mobile and PC, right? What is their stance on mobile and PC? It's not so good, right? And
No.
look, even Jim Ryan is saying, hey, the next acquisitions, the next things we do is going to be in mobile. Yes, that's what you should have been doing anyway, right? But
Absolutely.
they haven't done it, right?
Right.
And so they might be recognizing that. Look, the things that we need to also look at, the subscription services are going down. They're stopping to tell us the numbers. Why? Because they're not making increases. They're going down, right? The mind share has definitely been on Game Pass's favor, not in PS Plus's favor. Even though they created this new PS Plus tiered system, their subs, the subs are going down, not up. That's not what they want to be seeing.
Well, they just raised it by $40 on top of that, Hargeet.
Which is
so.
how
That might be
they-
the problem.
No, I mean, that's how they're trying to make the gap, right? Because like they're losing revenue. It's just a fact, right? And so you have to look at all these little things that are happening, right? Phil's idea of going into the live service games is, and I don't know if people remember the whole email that he had about, publishers and AAA games and how it's very hard to make a new AAA game because like everybody has to kind of make these $200 million investments. And it's very hard to do that without something is going to give you a return. So we're getting the same games over and over again, right? And when you get something innovative, especially a live game, it's usually an indie that's doing it. And that becomes bigger and bigger and bigger, and it grows because it naturally just makes sense for it, right? And that is where we're seeing a lot of these things come out of, right? And that's fair. That kind of makes sense. Going instead to your AAA studios and saying, hey, go make that a live game, it's just
idiotic.
not a great idea, right? And even if you take something like Apex, why did Apex work? Vince Zampella has been working on Call of Duty and multiplayer games for decades, right? He knows what you need to do there, and he said, okay, I can extend, right? I can see somebody like him saying, I understand what I need to do to extend, right? Because I've done Call of Duty, and we've made that as close to a live game as you can make it, and now I moved on and made Titanfall, and now I want to make a live version of that. Okay, cool. And so for him to do that, I don't see that as big of a stretch, right? Because he's done it. He knows what he has to do, right? Which is why it worked, right? So he knows it's the core gameplay loop. And this is the problem, right? Taking a cinematic game, they don't have a 2-minute gameplay loop. That's what you need to have. You need to have a very, like I play a little bit, I die, I come right back, right? You need to have a 2-minute game loop, a 10-minute game loop, and then you're done. You can't do a live service game with a 2-hour game loop. 5-hour game loop, 10-hour. That's just not a thing. But that's
Bungie said 30 seconds.
do. Yeah, that's exactly it. You got to have very short, right? Like I go in, I do a couple of things, I die, I come right back, I do more. That's got to be it. Right? That's how live service works, right? But if you decide you're going to take somebody who makes a 15-hour, cinematic adventure and say, hey, you now have to come up with a way to make that, 20, 30 second, 40 second, 1-minute game loop. That's just not in their mindset. They don't know what to do there, right? And that is why it just never works. It's very hard to stretch to that. You'd have to change out your people to be able to do that, and change your game to something you don't want, right? So anyway. So it's something that, his mindset is all about money, right? It's not about games. I don't think he understands that part, right? If you've talked to, and I've talked to Matt Booty, that's what he told me. Nice. You have to have that, And you can see it in his interviews. You have to have like a 1 minute, 5 minute, 10 minute, whatever game loop. It has to make sense for that game, right? And that's how you make the game fun, right? It has to meet those criteria, and that's how you make the game something somebody would want to play, right? And if you're going to make a live service game, you have to be honed in on those kind of things, right? They understand that. That's why it worked, right? Yes, they had the failure with one of them, Bleeding Edge, but a lot of other games worked. Multi-million, like 10 million, 15 million, 20, 25 million players. That's insanely good, especially when many of those games are on one platform, right? You just have to look at these realities. They're doing all the things they need to then fund the single-player AAA games, which we're now seeing, right? That's what's happening, right? So they went the direction they needed to do it, and they got a lot of pushback from the industry. But hey, look at the results, right? On the PlayStation side, they're having trouble keeping up with the AAA game development process, whereas Microsoft can easily fund it with Game Pass. Plus, they have all this residual revenue that keeps coming in from all these live games. And now they're going to have even more once ABK comes in, right? So their side, it's looking pretty good, right? But your subscription service is going down. That's never a good thing. Your console sales are great, but your showcases suck. Nobody wants to do anything with them. Maybe 1-2% of PlayStation players were happy with that. I don't know of many who said, "Whippy, this was awesome. That was a great." Most of them were like, "This sucked. This was terrible." And that's the PlayStation side.
We saw people having meltdowns because of those.
It was horrible. It was terrible. After years of nothing, right?
Yeah.
And if that's what you're setting up as your enthusiasm for your brand, that's not good, right? And so he's in some cases you have to just push, right? And that's fair, right? Sometimes you have to go against your customer base and push them in a direction. Fine. But there has to be something to keep them there. It can't just be, hey, we exist. Our name is PlayStation. You will come here. Eventually they will go to someone else. Now, on the flip side, Microsoft's very enthusiastic about getting your market, right? They're getting their market share and getting your dollars. So they're saying, hey, you can play this anywhere except PlayStation. You can play this anywhere. Just subscribe or buy our games, and we don't care if you buy it in the Steam store. You want to buy it in our store. We'll give you these benefits. We don't care. Just engage with us, right? That's their model, and they're going with that model and making pretty good strides. Go ahead.
I'll even argue with you, Argeet, that they didn't even say except PlayStation. If PlayStation does right and finally allows that browser to be exposed, 100%. You can play it there too.
100%.
It's easy for you.
You saw that communication with
Yeah.
with it was the Strauss Zelnick. I think that was
Strauss,
Zelnick,
yeah, Strauss
Strauss
Zelnick.
Zelnick.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
hey, I'm still trying. I would love to put it on Nintendo and PlayStation, right?
Yeah.
And so yeah, they don't care, right? They just want to get customers.
They just want money.
PlayStation specifically stops the browser from working because they don't want you, the consumer, to be able to do that. It's not
Yep.
Microsoft's fault. You know?
Further, in Japan, they've
Mhm.
essentially eliminated their development process, right? They have one
Yep.
mini studio making Astro, so they don't make any more, Japanese titles. For a company that's from Japan, that can't look good, right? They've also ceded the market to Nintendo, right? I know they don't think they
Yes.
compete with Nintendo, but I'm pretty sure Sony thinks they do compete with Nintendo, and see that most of the people in their country are saying, I have a Nintendo, I don't have a PlayStation, and that's gotta hurt. It just is. It just gotta hurt, right? And so something's gotta give on that, right? He's focused way more on the Western side. Okay, fair. But as a Japanese company, I'm sure Sony's sitting there going, why aren't we trying to capture the Japan market? What happened here, right? So that's another thing that's happening. On top of that, Nintendo, seemingly at least, is going to have a console that will directly compete now with the PlayStation 5 and the Series X and S. And when that happens, since they have the market share in Japan, a lot of those Japanese publishers are going to say, well, why am I not putting my game over here? I'm going to do that, right? So that whole thing of them owning the Japan, the Japanese titles, Japan publishers, all that stuff only comes to PlayStation. That's going to go away. And suddenly you're going to have a very competitive Nintendo come back and start playing again against, Sony, not to mention Microsoft. But look, Microsoft has positioned themselves in a different area because they have cloud and they have PC, right? And I don't know if Nintendo ever decides to go PC, but from a console perspective, Sony's going to have some pretty good competition from both Microsoft but most importantly, Nintendo. And this
And let's not forget that 10-year deal that Nintendo signed
It's
with
gonna get-
with
yeah, they're gonna get
Microsoft,
caught.
with Xbox.
And let's also be fair that Microsoft has been
Facts.
very happy to put other games on Nintendo. They don't seem to have
Yep.
that restriction that they
course.
have with PlayStation. So they will continue to put more stuff out there, especially if it gives them the same ability to, like they did with GoldenEye, right? They said, hey, we'll put it on both. Why not, right? So there'll
As
be
it
more of
should
those.
be, because this entire
not?
thing is about games, and we should all have access to these games. It should be for the love of game, period. And it's
Yep.
become such a problematic situation. And look at PlayStation. They don't have any freaking damn games to play. Don't we all just feel bad?
I mean, they
Like,
do if
damn
you want
it.
games of the
Well,
service
I mean,
games.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't really feel that bad, but it's fine. It's fine.
I mean, Boom, from the beginning of the show, what you said, I think that's what makes me concerned, right? I can certainly say that the PlayStation brand isn't resonating with me. However, I will say their studios still make excellent games.
Oh, they make
still love to play.
fantastic games.
So
Yes.
I don't want that to stop, and I certainly don't want to see layoffs. I don't want to see them change. Look, Naughty Dog just lost one of their owners, right? Because
Yes.
and this is just me guessing, right? In comes Bungie and says, "You ain't shit. Get out. You don't know what you're doing, and your live
And
service
he
game should
picked
just
up
shut
and
off."
he took his ball
And he's like,
and
"Well,
went home.
screw you. I'm leaving." Right? You took
Yep.
their side over me, the studio that made you what you are for the PS4 generation, PS3 generation, and you're saying I'm not good enough, but Bungie is. Okay, fair enough. Bye. Right? And this is what ends up happening, right? And so I hope that doesn't happen. I really don't want to see those studios that make, like, Ghost of Tsushima was freaking awesome. I would love to see another one. I don't want it to be a live service game. Make the games you make. Just do what you do best, right? And I know some people, it was mixed on Horizon. I'm very much looking forward to that PC release of Horizon Forbidden West. I loved the first game.
The first
I
one
want to
was
see what the second
amazing.
game's like.
So good. Aloy
So-
is such a great female lead character. I mean, the story was fantastic. But you know what's crazy? You're excited for the PC version of Forbidden West, right? And I know I'm excited for you. What's interesting?
Not in the showcase.
What's interesting?
Yeah, why would it
though,
be?
Is that team that made two incredible single-player, story-driven, narrative-focused games is now being asked to make a multiplayer version
Yeah,
of
exactly. I'm like,
Horizon.
why? Why?
Why?
Are you doing this?
Where,
Why?
where? I mean, honestly, where does anyone in chat?
mean,
We have
at
600
at
people
least-
here. Where
At
does
least
that fit in?
Gorilla has
They did have-
made
yeah.
multiplayer.
Yeah, the
You know what I'm saying? Like
Killzones,
they
that
had
Oh,
was
they made
Killzone.
Killzone, yeah.
Yep.
They've made
So they do have a
multiplayer
history
games,
with
so at least there's something there. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? Like
yeah.
there's a chance that they could do it.
It
Listen,
makes
if
a little sense.
they were able to
Yeah.
take a first-person shooter franchise, stop making that, and then go third person, go a different direction, and excel, right? So maybe they take their first-person multiplayer, thing that didn't do great, and put it over here, and maybe it excels. But if they are choosing to do that, I think that that's great, right?
Right.
If they said, "Oh, we can do this,"
We want
like
to do
we'll
it.
step
Yeah,
up,
Fair enough.
we can make a multiplayer game, then great. I want to see that game because I want to see what the developer is passionate about showing
Yeah.
us, right? Because that's
Yeah.
where we get the best games.
And they can
But-
certainly do some interesting things, but yeah, it's up to them if they
But
want
if
to do
Jimmy
it.
Boy walked in there and said, "Yo, you follow me, sit here, make a games of
Yeah.
service now," like,
Oh, and here's Bungie's telephone number. Make sure they like it.
yeah, Budgie will be here at 3. Get your shit together.
Right. Look, the other thing is how they've been kind of continuing the pattern they have in the past. So Microsoft's marketing has been very different than PlayStation's, and we've criticized their marketing, but let's be fair, it worked, right? Their games are selling. They're getting tens of millions of users. It's working, right? Whatever they're doing is working. Whereas PlayStation's still playing the old game where they spend hundreds of millions of dollars of advertising on these games, and what return do they get? They're the least profitable of the 3 platforms, and they make the most revenue. So that's not good, right? You just have to look at that and say, why is it like that, right? Because they just continue to do what they've been doing instead of looking at new ways to catch up with what the people are doing, right? And where can they engage with their customers to get people to play their games, right? Again, these are just all sorts of different things that could have gone into it, right? So that's another one. One other thing that's I'm not sure where this is, whether it is a problem or not. Going against the ABK deal told every publisher that watch out, somebody like Sony can come in and say your game is so important that
Yes, I
you cannot
remember.
be sold. And
That was a great point you brought up.
that's a crazy thing to say. That's a crazy thing to say, right? At some point, Ubisoft will get purchased. Why? Because Yves Guillaume will just want to walk away.
Yes,
Right, and
he's
just
had
say,
enough.
here, somebody else take this over, whether it's merged with an EA or a Take-Two or maybe an Amazon or something like that. If it were an Amazon, suddenly that's a problem, right? And why is that a problem? Why should it be a problem, right? And so they're going to look at that and say, well, what are you doing, Sony? You're just making it difficult for me to put myself on the market. Why did you do this, right? It set a precedent, whether we like it or not. Now, this is always going to be there. It's always going to be there. There's a possibility that the game is so big that you cannot possibly acquire it. That's a stupid thing to ever say because games change all the time. There's like if Call of Duty suddenly became a Xbox and you take it on PC, take it off of PC, put it on Xbox only, it just means another game is going to take over. That's what would happen. People aren't going to
100%.
suddenly stop playing first-person shooters. They'd go pick up Apex, Battlefield, whatever else, go play CSGO, whatever it is, they'll play something else. It would not end gaming in any way. It would not end PlayStation. Fact of that is Nintendo exists, 130 million consoles that don't have any Call of Duty, and they're fine. They're making more money than both Microsoft and PlayStation combined in profit. It doesn't matter. You just need to give players the games they want to play.
Yep.
As you were mentioning, Doodle, before, PlayStation went in one direction, and that's all they've been making. Microsoft has a good variety of games. So does Nintendo. They try all sorts of stuff, right? And that's they have a breadth, and because of that, they don't even need the AAA publishers. They don't need anybody else. They can just live with what they've got. They've got such a variety of everything that they can just live with their own first parties, right? Yeah, and if AAAs want to come, absolutely, that'd be awesome. On the Switch too, if they all come, that'd be awesome. But they don't need it. And this is why, because they have such a variety, and they just try things. They've got their big franchises that make them money, and then they just try all these small little things. Hey, did this work? Did this work? Did this work? Fine, right? That's cool. That's what you got to do. And if it was the older, like non-Jim Ryan heads of PlayStation, that's what they did too, right? They wanted to try new things. They wanted to, go get new things from other people as well. The idea is it's all about try new games, have more games, get more experiences, right? And that was something that the others understood because we're gamers. They wanted to play those games. That was the whole point, right? That sounds intriguing. Let's go do it, right? Whereas Jim Ryan's like, how much is that going to make me? Well, that's not the answer when it comes to art. It's just not.
Yes.
Right? You have to try. You have to like art is just something that either it works or it just doesn't, right? But you got to try, right? And I hope that changes with whoever comes in, that they have that spirit of gaming, that they understand that this is about trying things, and sometimes it'll work and sometimes it won't, right? But sometimes it'll make you spectacular money. Sometimes it'll be a flop. It is what it is. You just got to kind of go with it. So we'll see where all that goes. There's one last point that's kind of in, maybe out there, maybe more Everborn Saga level with me, but conspiratorial thing is, look, at some point, the fact that Microsoft went to our government to then go to the Japan government to say there's a problem, I don't think Japan ever wants to hear that there's a problem with the United States in trade. I'm just going to put that out there. I'm going to leave it at that.
It is a
I don't know what
point.
ends up happening there, but just keep that in mind. I don't think Japan ever wants to hear there's a problem with trade with the United States.
It's just funny. It came up and they approved that shit right after. They were like, no, don't look over here. We're good. Good. Approved. Leave us alone.
Well, I mean, when you have a 98% to 2% ratio, you know what I'm saying? I mean, the competition is just, it's squashed. There is no competition. So for them to block it would be ridiculous. It would be ridiculous. It's
wild.
And Hargeet, you mentioned Everborn Saga, and here he is, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh yeah,
Everborn is here.
Hargeet,
what is
welcome.
up, man?
How you doing?
Everborn.
I was working late. You guys can hear me, right?
Yeah, we hear just fine.
I can hear you.
We talked this morning briefly before you had to go. Take those work calls because that's real life. Where we left off was pretty interesting. Where do you personally feel this falls on the Jim Ryan situation? Did he walk away? Was he asked to walk away?
So before I get into that, Hargeet said something that was interesting about trying games and trying different things and it being about art. It is, but it's also a business, and it is also a business that is responsible to shareholders and who want a return on their investment, and there's always growth. And so if they are going to do what Hargeet talked about, the first thing that needs to happen is what Sean Layden talked about, which is bringing down budgets. Or you can do what Microsoft has done, which is find a way where you can take those big swings and give people and lower the barrier of entry while still creating a sustainable revenue stream. But they haven't done any of that, right? They what Hargeet was talking about is interesting, but they are actually, the biggest player in the space that they play in. They're doing $25 billion a year. They can't say we're just going to try things and see if it works. And if it doesn't sell, it doesn't sell. That's fine, but tell that to the board and let the board tell that to Wall Street. And that's really not going to work. And I'm not saying that to make an excuse about it, but it is sort of this thing where it almost feels like they're a victim of their own success, right? Everyone has these expectations of everything they do needs to be a God of War, right? And then they make a bunch of stuff like God of War, third person over the shoulder, sad dad simulator, light RPG elements, blah, 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 semi-open world, whatever, because they're spending $200 million on these things and they don't really have long-term monetization strategies. And if it doesn't hit, they're out $200 million, right? So we love those things, but it is sort of, they need to minimize risk at all costs. And this is why you see price increases, because they had to increase price and they had to do all that stuff because guess what? The console market isn't really growing, right? It's sustained. It's a good 350 million people, but unless you're going to take market share away from Nintendo, like you're just gonna have to charge them more, as they say, hashtag charge them more.
Well, I
So
mean, they
this
got to go to
means
PC. They got to go other places to meet the players where they are. If they want to just sit
1,000
there and stay in their own lane, they're just going to stay looking like the
For
fools that they are. You know what I'm
PlayStation
saying?
to be able to compete, they are going to have to go ahead and do what Chani said. They need to go ahead and make these games and broad out. They need a variety so that the players can come in. And I do understand about the money. I've been saying they need a sugar daddy. They need somebody to come scoop them up, wrap them up, and go ahead and nurture your dreams, baby. Let them do what they can do to save PlayStation.
Sony
Facts.
needs a zaddy. Okay.
Yes.
They do.
Well, not
Because
Sony. PlayStation
they-
does.
It's like
Right
What
now,
you're saying-
PlayStation
what
is
you're
the
saying
sugar
is-
daddy of Sony.
They need to get cute
Exactly.
with Amazon. Is what you're saying? They need to look
Amazon or
cute with
Apple. They need somebody to come
They
in.
need somebody.
Look,
Amazon.
They
they're,
need
they're a
the
victim.
money, that cash flow. Microsoft is there for Xbox. Sony, PlayStation, they're very small, right? Again, we talk about this ABK deal and how much they spent on that. They could have went ahead and scooped up Sony if they wanted to. That's the difference, right? That's the difference in dollars that we're talking about. And so in order for Sony to come in and compete, in order for PlayStation to come in and go toe to toe with Xbox, with everything they're giving us, with the amount of studios that they've bought, they need that sugar daddy. They need Apple. They need Amazon. They need somebody to come and give them that budget so that they can go and explore and do the passion projects and go ahead and give us what we need from them. Because if not, I'm sorry, but they're freaking doomed. They're not going to be able to keep up. And that's why they're so lost. They take one step forward, 4 steps back. They have
man.
no
Everborn,
confidence because right now they're counting their pennies. And
Everborn,
you
you have
can't
it right,
move
though.
and compete with Xbox if you're counting your pennies.
It's their own success that did
Like,
this.
shit.
Yes.
It's their
And
own
so-
success that did this because they made this, high fidelity, high, quality,
Yes.
whatever it is.
They
did
also
this to
rested on their
themselves.
laurels for many years as well. I mean, all jokes aside, listen, no one on this panel, I don't think anybody in the chat is going to deny it. And maybe, again, I say this all the time. I understand if God of War isn't your bag or Horizon or Uncharted and they're very samey. Or Ghost of Tsushima, not your bag. I don't know how it's not your bag, but it's not your bag. Okay, fine. That's fine. But we cannot deny that once PlayStation is hitting on all cylinders, and they have a year like 2018, a year like 2020, a year like 2019, where there's 3 of these big banger titles, along with a lot of marketed deals that are exclusive to the brand, everything gets lifted up. Like when you have 3 big, high-profile AAA games releasing in the same year that are all 90 meta, and in that same year you have a bunch of smaller games that are exclusive to your platform, they lift them up, and it looks like they're winning, and they were winning. PlayStation is in a bit of a tailspin. Anyone that says otherwise is really not reading the room correctly. That's what I will say. But everyone, let's continue with your hot take, sir.
But the thing is this, right? It sounds like what we are saying is they either need to do what Microsoft is doing, which I don't know that they can afford to do what Microsoft is doing, or they need to do what Nintendo is doing. And if they do what Nintendo is doing, Sony cannot go from being a $26 billion a year company to a $6 billion a year business, right? They cannot do that, right? It would be a mass sell-off of their stocks, and that would leave them open to being taken over. And the thing is this: when we say Apple or Amazon should buy them, I get it in the sense that, okay, are they going to leave them alone? Are they going to let them do their thing and take, all the financial hit for them? Amazon and Apple are historically very cheap companies. And so when I see a Microsoft buying an Activision, that doesn't make me nervous personally, because Microsoft has been in the games business for 20 some odd years. Amazon buying a publisher or Apple who really does not care about games, that gives me pause. So I don't want to say that, they should just get bought out. Now, I think I think a good merger target with Sony would actually be WB, but that's not what we're here to talk about. Just because they can expand their gaming portfolio and then business
Yeah, but they
wise with
can't
the
help
IPs
them.
that Warner Brothers. I'm sorry.
Like they can't help them pay for their next game. You know what I'm saying?
No,
Like,
no, no, they can't. They can't. But that IP coming together, like Sony owning
Yeah,
all
but
of
financially,
DC,
it's just
and
a disaster.
sure,
yeah, they would not.
sure,
They would just. They're
100%.
just swapping sides.
Yeah.
Right. Well, anyway, that's a sidetrack thing. But I'm just saying there are synergies there, and that would make them effectively as large as Disney with the IP to match. But that's
I
that's
would say
besides the
too,
point.
just real quick, when you think about, I know you say like you look at Apple and they're not in it, but if we really think about it, they're actually one of the most invested in gaming, right? Because their platform is
But
one of the biggest
they're not.
gaming
They're
companies
not.
out there. They support games on a constant basis, right? Like they don't own studios to make games, but
Yeah.
some of the most, like the biggest games in the world are on their platform.
And I
Agree.
understand that, right? But that is not the same as them understanding the games business. By happenstance, they have a lockdown platform with 2 billion people, and they are the only avenue for a customer to buy anything in that ecosystem, right?
But Sony would be the
Sony
same for
knows
PlayStation.
what to do. They
Wait a
just
minute.
need that money, though.
I
All they
understand.
need is that Apple money. Ain't nobody trying to get Apple
But
in
why-
here and hey,
but
come
why
and
would
make some
Apple
games
invest,
for
though?
us. Obviously,
Well,
PlayStation's
you know
going to
why they
handle
would
that.
invest? Let
Why?
me tell you why they would invest. Because if you just remember, they had the announcement, they're already out in the wild. The iPhone 15 Pro Max can handle current gen games. Next year, the iPhone 16 Pro Max will have even better
But these are even more
capabilities of
reasons to
handling
not
current gen
wanna
games. So if
jump
they
in the
own
console market,
Sony
right?
and they could take first party games and say, yeah, you sell it on your platform, right? If you want to play on a console, you go play there. But also, hey, guess what? We own it. So we could also release those games on our mobile platform to our 200 million customers. Let's go ahead and take that IP, move it right there. And guess what? Now you're in a whole different league because you're not touching the console gamers by bringing their IP to mobile.
Yeah,
Your
but
console
see,
gamers are still going to do
but
what
they
they
could-
do.
they
You're
could
just
fund games,
expanding
right?
who can take that.
But I don't
You know,
even know
who
if
can-
that
who can
merger
buy
would
it.
happen, only
That's the
because it
problem.
would be considered a horizontal merger as opposed to a vertical merger. And the reason
That's
why
a
that
big
is
problem
because
for them,
Sony
yeah.
Pictures and
Yep.
and Sony Music.
I was about to say
Well-
that Amazon has an easier chance to buy Sony than
But
Apple
they have
does
MGM.
because
Sony
of a
would
lot of
probably
the.
have to divest
Marvel,
Amazon has
Sony.
MGM.
Star Wars. They bought the
And Amazon
biggest
has MGM,
entities.
I know. But the
Amazon
other
got
headache with
MGM.
the other headache with that is since it can now play AAA games, that actually kind of makes it a console. So and you don't know that some annoying regulatory thing happens where they say, oh well, nope, iPhone is a console as well.
It's a
and
console.
PlayStation is a console as well.
Well-
And so now you have too much market share. Go away.
That's fine, but this now the conversation changes, though, right?
But look at
now
ABK,
we're going, but we're going from Apple shouldn't do it to now Apple can't do it, right? And those
No,
are
no,
two
but
different
I'm not-
conversations.
well,
Yeah,
we were
right.
saying
There's
that
also a
if they
financial
get a
part of
sugar
it as
daddy
to
for
why
it,
they would want to take on something and invest that much into it. They would have to gain a return for it. But Tim Cook is not going to make those kind of plunges. It's just not the way he is.
No,
Anyway,
I
but
don't
either way,
think so,
everyone,
but I do want to. I do because obviously we're getting closer, to the last quarter of the show, and I really want to hear from Everborn because he did get in here late, and I do want to get his hot take on this.
Everborn, I know.
Yeah,
Everyone's
everyone's been great. Everyone's had some incredible finite points, but again, this is what happens when you have such a big panel.
So I'll try to be quick.
No, you don't got to be quick. I just want to make sure you get your you drop your bars because we were talking this morning. You had some really good points that you have yet to get to, and I really want you to get to those points.
Right. So with Jim Ryan, what I'm looking for is, will there be a shift or a double down when his full successor is in place, right? Because if there's a double down, it tells me that he's the one that left, right? And if there's a complete shift, which means you bet the farm on these service games at a time where everybody hates service games, and like most service games that, like, name a service game that has come out in the last 3 years that has been and is still successful. We've seen some flash in the pans where people said, this is fun, that's fun, but where are they?
Grounded.
So yeah, Minecraft Legends, I guess you could say that was a
Only one.
servicey game.
Yeah.
Dungeons. Is that
Marvel
25 mil?
Snap.
Marvel Snap is so good. My God, I play that
Is
every
that
day,
a gas
folks.
game? Is that a? I guess it
Hell
is.
yeah, it's a gas game.
Yeah,
Hell
it
yeah.
absolutely is.
Gotta
They
get
get
gas, bro.
$15 a month. Are
games.
you kidding me?
Yeah, no, but I'm saying that to say, I'm saying that to say, you know, the ones that are alive and well right now are the ones that have been there. It is the Fortnites. If we can say Minecraft Legends, but that's not getting any more updates. That game's done, right?
You mean Dungeons? Legends is Dungeons is.
Sorry, yes.
Yeah.
Legends, couple million people, but that's not the kind of numbers these guys are looking for with big service games.
Sure.
So statistically, they've shifted the majority of the production budget towards literally a gamble, where you have most of the examples not working out, right? And again, that's sort of this knee-jerk reaction that you see when you realize you're behind the ball. You don't just say 1 year we're shifting 60% of our production budget to something we have no experience in, and then none of our studios have that experience, and so we're going to overpay for a single studio nearly $4 billion so they can help, right? So it's the question is, was that a Jim Ryan initiative? And you know, and they don't like it, so they showed him the door? Or was it Jim Ryan trying to drag Sony, traditional Sony, kicking and screaming into the future, right? And he just said, you know what, I'm tired of this. Now, if you want the tinfoil kufi, we will say that ABK has closed, right? Microsoft's getting their ducks in a row. I want to point out what they released this year, right? That's Hi-Fi Rush. That's Ghostwire came to the platform. That's Starfield, and now the game you're playing. And that's before we get to Minecraft Legends, and they had one misstep, Redfall. But now ABK is about to close. So you're going to add Diablo to that, right? You're going to add COD this year to that, right? So
Overwatch
2.
Absolutely, yeah. Right? And whatever they're going to do with Warcraft and StarCraft and all those things. And you have to think about this. Sony purchased, I think, 8 or 9 studios in the time since the ABK deal was announced.
Yeah.
How do those acquisitions help them compete in this world that they're gonna be against, right? So, and I say that to say, okay, Nixus is going to help them port games, but that's not the same thing as having a development pipeline that will afford you to do day and date releases on PC, right?
I mean, to be fair though, of those developers that they purchased, many of them are their first attempt at PlayStation games are gas games. Whether they'll be successful or not, it remains to be seen. And of course, we've heard
many of
rumor
them,
and speculation of them. Some of them are already like reversing course, but of all the ones we've heard, they are all gas games. So at least they're trying to help in this initiative.
But that's the knee-jerk reaction that makes me nervous. It says it's an overcorrection, right? And Microsoft is famous for this if you follow them in the tech world.
Oh,
right?
absolutely. Yeah.
So we know what an overcorrection looks like, and it's not a good sign, right? So I'm saying that all to say, did Jim Ryan see the writing on the wall and basically thought resistance is futile? So he said, I'm going to get out of Dodge like Bob Iger did after Endgame dropped? Or is he falling on his sword? And I don't believe this idea that, well, ABK, that he was driving the ABK sort of block thing. Not that he wasn't driving it, but you don't do that unilaterally, right? Jim Ryan doesn't run around the world snitching to all of these regulators and all these different area codes, right? And these different time zones, right? He doesn't do that unless the board is okay with it. And if he is actually pushed out because they tried and failed to block the deal, I don't feel like he should be alone, right? Because you know that.
Well, but
you
think about it though. Hold on. I see the needle you're threading. But what about the idea that they went at some point? They went, all right, Jimbo, you're going a little too far here. And he's like, look, I'm convinced I can get this done. Let me thread this needle. And he said, and they go, look, you're putting all of our developers on blast and all of this stuff. If you don't thread that needle successfully, it's your ass. And he said, yep, I got it. And now he didn't get it, so it's his ass. I mean, they gave him enough rope, and it looks like he hung himself.
It has to be.
What about that
It
theory?
has to be. It's too sporadic. Like it's too erratic for him
It's
to just
the
start
only way
talking
that
like
it makes
that.
sense.
Like he's been with the company for 30 years. You know what I'm saying? Like you never seen Jim Ryan out there just talking this type of crazy. It had to be he had to be
Get the
desperate to
crazy
stop the deal. And from the emails that we saw, we knew that he personally was not desperate to stop this deal.
Sure.
Someone with a
Made
higher
him
power
desperate about it. Yes.
made him desperate. And now that we see the cards play out, as much as we want to keep discussing it, right? That's cool. But the cards are in front of us. My man is gone because the deal didn't go through. Those are the only two events that has taken place here.
And he's not only gone, he's not gone gracefully. He's not only gone gracefully, they shut him off October 1st. He's like out right
He's
now.
been unplugged.
They just kicked it was like they
he
put
don't
him to
got
sleep.
access to emails no more.
Yeah, all of a sudden they changed the codes. He couldn't even get in the building. Like, what's good?
They Googled his ass when they let everybody go. They didn't even know. He just showed up. They were like, "Nah, your car don't work no more, dog. You gotta go sit
We gotta
outside."
need you to turn around, boy.
Oh no!
So you're saying he
man.
wasn't even allowed in the cafeteria anymore? See, that's just rude. How's he gonna get his pudding?
I'm very interested to see what happens next, but I do want to paint a bit of a grim picture, if you will allow me. Right?
Paint the picture, sir. Paint your Picasso.
So we know that the growth in the industry right now coming from two places: PC and largely mobile. Right? Where is Sony in that space where everything's growing? Right? Because this is the problem. I don't want to say like capitalism is a problem. I'm just saying this is the nature of capitalism, right? You can't like having a sustainable business that doesn't grow doesn't work for publicly traded companies, right? There needs to be some avenue, and when you can no longer grow vertically, now you have to sort of grow horizontally. That means, okay, we've done our land grab, we've got the largest amount of people we want. Now we have to go and charge those people more. So Sony, what is the meaningful presence that they have in the mobile space? Meanwhile, you have their competitor locking down the biggest mobile game, the biggest mobile publisher, right?
Yep.
Where if there's no real growth and you've gotten all the customers you were going to get, and by the way, you may lose some of your market share after this deal closes, right? So, and you're not taking Nintendo's customers. So you can't grow in console. Mobile, you bought one studio, Fire Sprite, which I don't know what they've made, if they've made anything. And PC games, every one of your PC releases, every one of them combine their peak concurrent players, and they don't equal up to Starfield's pre-launch numbers.
Yep.
Where does that say you are in PC and in mobile, the two spaces that are growing?
You ain't had to hit him so low, man, with the pre Starfield numbers. Damn,
No,
son.
you
I
could
mean,
just said
I-
Starfield, but pre-Starfield,
Right.
their slow swimmers took you down. You know what I'm saying? Not even their main event swimmers.
So with they've spent
Not the
they've spent
backups.
something close to $4 to $5 billion acquiring studios, right?
Mhm.
And what do you have to show for it? Actually, right? One of the purchases is nearly $4 billion. You don't even get exclusives from that.
Nothing from it, dude.
Dumbest deal.
And then you have them saying that they're going to help you with your transitioning your single player developers to make service games, and then they're canceling games. You have bad blood, and now the ones who brought you here are looking at you sideways. Now, what you would think is you say, you know what, Naughty Dog, Insomniac, Gorilla, you guys do what you do. We're going to buy more studios, and those studios are going to work on the service games. You keep working on the single player games, right? But it doesn't seem like that's the case. I hope that's the case. We don't know because they haven't announced anything. So in terms of setting themselves up as a business for the future, where can we really say the investments have gone? Right? And that's before we get to PSVR and whatever the
That ridiculous
PSP
handheld.
is.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh my gosh.
Handhelds.
So and
That they're so pumped to say it's sold out
I
everywhere.
know. I saw that. I was
It's
like, who
sold
the
out
fuck
everywhere.
bought that
It's
shit?
sold out everywhere because they made 5 of them, bro.
Yeah.
They knew nobody wanted that shit.
Oh
So-
my goodness, the slander. I love it.
So we take aside from where the investments are now in those spaces, in terms of mobile, in terms of PC, where's their competitor at, right? And so that's that one thing. Now, when we talk about communication and consumer sentiment, right? You're gonna ride off the highs of your predecessor for a time, right? But there's only so many director's cuts and re-releases that you can do before people start to get antsy. And this is not me coming at them. I mean, like,
All right, you can come at them.
if you didn't
That's
have,
true.
if you couldn't rely on Square, right? What have they done in terms of first party since this generation started, right? And that's not to take away because they had more than Microsoft, but the reason I'm bringing that up is to say all those games were products of the previous generation. They were sequels.
They're sequels.
Right? So
Half-ass sequels, by the way.
I disagree.
Not
I disagree.
I'm not saying they're bad. I'm not saying they're bad, but they're half-ass. You can't tell me that you look at Spider-Man 2, next gen only, PlayStation 5, built from the ground up. You're telling me that looks like what you imagined a next gen Spider-Man was going to look like compared to 2018 and Miles Morales. You telling me that's what you believe?
I would argue that at times Starfield doesn't look like a next gen game, right?
Starfield's been in the process of being made for about 48 years. Right, so
that's cool, but so has Spider-Man, right?
Yeah, no, well, it literally has it. It
thrown at
started
it.
after Miles Morales. They just took the blueprint of the previous
They used
island
the
they
same freaking
had,
foundation.
and they just built around it, and they changed some building structures, and they added 2 people. And they said, "Oh, look at how we could zoom out in the map and bring you in." Oh, damn, that's technology from 2013 when Grand Theft Auto did that shit.
Exactly.
Right? So let's be real and call spade a spade.
Here defending Sony right now. I don't want to be in
Yeah,
that
you
position.
go try to defend them. You're in the wrong house to defend them, baby. I'm just playing.
Look,
I'm just playing.
Well, we can say the same thing again. I know Mr. Boom was talking about like God of War and in Horizon. It's like God of War was repetitive. The latest one, it was freaking repetitive. Kind of knocks you out. The protagonist for Horizon. yo, she's a snooze, man. And she just
Yo.
like, okay, I'll go do this. It's like, yo, how about you get me in a good mood so I can go ahead and want to go kick some ass, you
Her
know,
nickname
instead
is
of
NyQuil,
just
baby. We call her NyQuil out in these streets.
Yeah, that's my lullaby.
Yeah, I
Have
mean,
her on the
listen,
screen.
Somebody
I'm
said-
out.
Why do y'all
it's-
hate
I will say
Aloy
this. 'cause
so much?
Cause
All
she-
y'all hate Aloy.
cause she's no Lara.
want you to sleep. She's
like your
mama and
she-
your
the
baby.
se-
She
the
just
second
rock you to
one,
sleep,
she-
yo.
She grew a little bit as a character. The first one, she's a little bit of a bore. I will
Oh,
admit
man.
that. But
All
look,
right. So last thing
Yes.
before, and I'll wrap this up. So the point is, if we look at what they invested in, it doesn't seem like they are prepared for the
Mhm.
onslaught that is about to come with them. And
Yep.
they
agree.
again, where is the consumer sentiment on top of that? Because we've seen that they've been able to ride off their previous coattails, but when you don't have a show in 2 years and what you come back with is what they came back with, and we don't have a clear roadmap, and the only thing they can tell you about is service games that their entire fan base is saying they don't want to play. Right? Think about that. Think about
Yeah.
the hardcore PlayStation fans. Are any of them into service games?
no,
Nope.
they are not.
How does
Not at
that
all.
how does that go over with them? And so you're not invested for the future. You're alienating your existing fans, and you just ended up with the regulators all around the world now as a result of your opposition to this deal. First of all, you ended up with less than what you would have got. And now
Yes, you
the
money
regulators
actually at
got
the
all your
beginning.
paperwork and they know all your tactics. And you've now
Everybody knows.
positioned exclusive content. You've positioned timed exclusive perks. You've positioned that as anti-competitive. And to every regulator around the world, and now you've given them all your contracts so they all know the stuff that you've positioned as anti-competitive. It's not anti-competitive, but that's what they ran with. So at any point, if you have a motivated regulator, they could say, you know what? You're using your market. Let me apply the same standard to you that I applied to Microsoft. You're done, son.
Yeah, no, it's true.
Yep.
They're in a pickle. I'll say that. But look, ladies and gentlemen, this has been one heck of a show. Everyone.
wait.
brought their
Wait.
A-game.
Everborn is here, and I forgot. Tinfoil hat. I wanted to put this out there real quick,
Yeah.
just real fast. Okay, so we talked about Bungie, right?
Right.
Getting bought, spending all this money on Bungie. Bungie's their own company. They could leave when they want. They won't get hurt.
Oh, I know where you're going with this.
They can do whatever they want.
I know where
My
you're going.
tinfoil hat.
Oh my god.
If we remember, Phil was in talks, right? It came out. They were in talks to buy Bungie.
Yep.
What if this is an inside job?
Can you
Oh my
imagine?
As his boys
I
at
love
Bungie go and say, listen, we're not gonna buy you. You're
Bungie's
gonna
the
you're gonna go
mode.
market yourself to Sony.
So,
Sony
you know
buys
what we
you,
call
and
that?
you tear them down from the inside out, baby.
You-
Let's
you-
go.
What do you call that?
That's how we get
call
it
that-
done.
That's the Steven Elop. We call that the Elop move. No, I think
Let's
that's too
do it,
much.
baby.
I'm a
Oh
bit
my
big,
God.
man.
It's possible. Listen, if
You
Sony
can't
gets
see it 'cause
destroyed,
he's off
Bungie
camera,
leaves,
but right
and the
now,
Xbox buys them,
everyone's
we'll know
just
it's
spinning
true.
around in excitement in his chair.
Yeah, right.
Yes, he's spinning
so-
around.
There might be
So
some
here-
illegality to that, but anyway, that's
Hey, nobody needs to know. Okay.
Hey man, hey man. If you look at all the places that Microsoft has either purchased or had deals with, there have been strategic people that just went there 6 months to
I'm
a
just
year
saying.
before it happened.
I'm just saying, you never know.
and they're coming back home. It's very very
let me-
strange how these plants.
let
or
me-
these
let me
people
put
go
it
to these
this way.
places.
Let me put it this way, C Money.
Yep.
Now, Activision went to Microsoft and told them, you are going to get on a laydown, and we're going to get a different revenue split than every other publisher in the industry. We want 80-20.
Yep.
And if you don't do that, we are going to pull
Call of Duty.
Activision games from the next gen joint.
Yeah.
And so Microsoft was like, all right, cool. You got us. Okay, we can't afford that. And then next thing you know, Mikey Barra and Rod Ferguson is over there in Blizzard.
Yep.
And then
Yup.
and then all the bad stuff and the bad headlines that came out about Activision originated from things going on at Blizzard. And maybe Phil gets the heads up on a golf game on the weekend and say, "Hey, Phil, you might want to give Bobby a call. It's not looking sweet over there." And who knows? Who knows who leaked the ABK issues to the press that led them to get sued? Who knows?
Yeah, I mean,
All
listen,
I know,
this
all
is a
I
very
know
deep,
is there's
dark
no more
rabbit hole.
80-20 split. That's all I know.
Exactly.
Wow.
Now it's 100-0, baby. It's
That's
all
100
there.
to 0. No, that's true. It's true. Listen, I do want to say this. This has been one of my favorite shows of the year for prime time because we had an amazing pair of guests here. We do want to get and sell their brand. I'll start first with Doodle to be free. You are one half of the dynamic duo known for On
better
Point
half
for Gamers. It is a podcast that you do not only with your husband, which you see money, but you also incorporate your kids, which is amazing. And it's something that you guys do on a weekly basis. You guys are a stone throw away from 11K. I will drop their link in there so you could subscribe to them and help them get past the 11K hill that they've been climbing. Sell your brand. Where could people not only find you on social media, but where could people subscribe to your YouTube channel?
Mr. Boom, I want to thank you so much for having us. I've had a blast. This was awesome.
This is a lot of fun. Yeah.
You guys, the panel, this was so cool. I'm so happy to have met you guys. See, you're my love. This is what we do. I want to thank the chat. You guys are awesome. Thank you for being here. You can follow me on Twitter or X, Doodle to be free. Doodle, the number 2, the letter B, free. And C, I will let you take care of the rest.
Thank you so much. Great to have you here. Thank you so much for your time. Real quick, Game Shark dropped a $2 super chat and says, just jumped in. Why are you streaming ESPN? And of course, talking about the footage being that good looking. Yeah, it does look this good. Mind you, this is 1920 by 1080p. This isn't even 4K. So there you go. Pat, who's been a chat member for 2 months, says, great panel, Boom. Thank you, Pat. Appreciate you being here. And last and no way least, EJ Jackson once again drops another Forza upgrade code for anyone playing it on Game Pass. EJ Jackson, thank you so much for the generosity as always. See Money, sell the brand, brother. Let's talk about it. Where can people check out your podcast? Which again, you guys are just a pinch away from 11K.
Almost there, man. So close.
Your link into the chat. Hopefully you guys can get there, sell it. And where can people reach out to you on social media?
Well, listen, first of all, I gotta do it again, man. Boom, thank you so much for having us on. I do feel complete now that I've touched every part of your show. I've touched you everywhere.
That's right.
But every part has been touched. So but thank you for having me. Guys, listen, it was a pleasure chatting with you guys. You know, Kay Asante, we did a show. I was on your show before, so that was fun. Hargeet, you're the man. We got plans for the future. I'm excited for that. Everborn, again, first time chat with you. This is dope. I know you came in late, but we got a little in. But so thank you guys. Chat, you've been amazing. You can follow me on Twitter. I refuse to call it X. Right there, C Money forever. So that's where you find me. And yeah, our channel is called On Point for Gamers. Right now we have 4 shows that we do every single week. Our big show is Her, Him, and a Guest. That's the show that we had yesterday with our man Dirt Griggity.
Great
What
show,
a show.
Great
It
show.
was so good. I learned so much about that man that I did not know. So that was very, very cool. We had a great show, and the chat was awesome. So if you didn't watch it, go back and watch that because it was fire. So that's our Tuesday shows. Next week, we actually have our boy Dealer Gaming lined up.
Nice.
So we're excited for that.
Yes.
It's going to be a good time. It's going to be next Tuesday. I believe it's going to be 5 o'clock. We'll know 100% when it gets closer, but that's going to be fun. And then our main show for gaming is our On Point, the gaming newscast. We just recently moved that show from Saturdays. It is now on Thursday nights at 5 p.m. That's the show that we do with myself, Doodle, and our eldest son, Madman. We just go over the week show. We have a good show lined up for tomorrow. It's going to be really, really fun. And then on Fridays, we have our show called On Point Anime and Beyond. And it's our, we talk anime, we talk TV, pop culture, all that fun stuff. That's going to be 8 p.m. Eastern time this Friday. And then our last show is our morning show that we do on Monday mornings called Morning Quest. It's at 9 a.m. Eastern time. It's with myself and Doodle. And we just start the week off right with some game talk, some chill times. We chat with you guys in the chat like it's just a real chill time. So it's supposed to be like an hour, hour and a half. It's been slowly growing to like 2 hours, 2 hours and a half. I don't know what's taking place. But aside from that, man, thank you guys so much. Again, we really appreciate it. We are on the road to 11K. It's like right there. We can taste it. So if you can come by, hit the subscribe button and hit the bell, because these guest shows every week, we got somebody fun coming in and you don't want to miss it. You don't want to miss it, especially you don't want to miss the one that Chani's going to be on. That's right. Hargeet. He's already there. Yes.
I love it.
So aside from that, guys, thank you so much. Much appreciated.
No problem. Thank you guys for being here as always. Real quick, 80s cartoon villain who's been a channel member for 1 month says this may be my favorite panel yet. Loving this discussion and a variety of perspectives. Thank you so much for that. And I love the name 80s cartoon villain. I mean, how could you go wrong with that? And of course, Kay Asante, before we bring you in, Nady Nay says Phil and Booty was just too much for Jim Ryan. I guess that booty was too much, man. What can I say? Peaches. I don't know. Hey, Kay Asante, sell your brand, brother. Talk about the Gaming Circle podcast. Last week's show, amazing. You actually were there in person with Everborn Saga, which is a rarity, but it happened. Where could people check that show out? And more importantly, follow you on social media?
Well, first and foremost, I want to thank our guests again. Always great to have different perspectives. It was awesome to have you guys on here with us and getting your perspectives live. So much fun, bringing so much energy to the proceedings. We appreciate it. Of course, the man Hargeet Chani, as usual. We appreciate you. And my slanderous co-host, Mr. Everborn Saga, who always has to be fashionably late because otherwise, why not? It is what it is. We do our show that also presents some fun. We have some fun. We did last week, as was just mentioned. We have a good time called the Gaming Circle Podcast, Saturdays 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Usually we try to do some evergreen content. We talk about the stuff that's going on, but we put our heads together and try to have some evergreen conversation, things that may be interesting to everybody even after the fact. Like the question of who will win in a battle of merchandising and a battle of purchases. Will it be the monster that is Mario or the rat that is Sonic? We're battling that.
Wow, that's shots fired, ladies and gentlemen. Shots fired.
We're gonna find out soon. We're gonna find out soon, bro.
I mean, I'm buying Mario I'm good for 2 copies, one for me and Tyler, right? That's for sure.
I'm gonna buy 2 just to make sure we win.
And I'm buying 2 copies of Sonic. One for Xbox and one for
you see that? Sorry, everyone. It's not happening.
It's just one of those things. We have these fun back and forths on our show.
It's fun. You know what's even more interesting that no one is talking about? Who wins, Spider-Man 2 or Mario Wonder?
I've come out on a limb and said Elephant Tusk Mario will squash
I do. I think
Mario Wonder for sure.
I think long term he wins. I think short term Spider-Man might have the bigger splash, because I think there's going to be a lot of PlayStation fans who have been dying for something to play. So I think they're all going to go out and buy it immediately. But I think Mario Wonder, when you look at the NPDs, 5 years from now, Mario Wonder will sell 80 million copies, and Spider-Man is still at 15.
Let's be honest with ourselves. Nintendo will announce the Abacus Part 2, and then a day later, everybody will go buy the Abacus Part 1 just to play Mario Wonder.
Yeah,
this is a rigged game. It's over. It's over. So I say all this to say, come join us Saturdays when I will take Mr. Everborn Saga's knees live on air. Pause. And it'll be fun. and we'll watch him waffle around and talk about how Mario just beat the pants off him. It's gonna be magical.
It's gonna be
10
it's gonna
a.m.
be fun, folks. Tune in, folks. Tune in. Don't forget to tune in. And everyone's links are available in the show notes. All you gotta do is click them to get to their site. Click it again to sub, and of course, if you want to be generous, and you should, click the bell icon so you always know when their content goes live. And content, speaking of which, Harky Chani, you represent many brands, but specifically Game On Daily. And if you saw in some of my footage, Gaz's drivatar, a bit crazy, kind of like the driver, because he was knocking me all over the place. So talk about Game On Daily, something that they do on a weekly basis. They're getting bigger. They're growing. They're having bigger guests on. You're on there on a regular basis, and not only are you there, not only are you here, but you're also on Dealer Gaming's show on Tuesday. Talk about it.
Yeah, so Gaz will be putting out a sauce video soon enough. So
I cannot wait.
Out yet, but he's been having some like headaches and vertigo, so. Well, hopefully he'll get past that, and we'll get that sauce video soon. Yeah, so GameOnDaily.com and YouTube.com/GameOnDaily. And as everybody, like Doodle and C-Money, thanks for coming on. Great takes.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and look forward to being on your show. That was November, is that right? Sometime later. Yeah.
We're so excited.
But yeah, and Dealer is just. He's been having some issues, and hopefully he's kind of coming out of it now. So, but we'll see where that goes. But yeah, RDX every Tuesday at 8 p.m. on Dealer Gaming's channel, 8 p.m. US Eastern, and of course right here on Primetime Gaming every Wednesday, 7 p.m. US Eastern. And check all that out. And I'm not on any social media. I'm on.
No, he does the right thing. He stays away from social media. Yeah.
And if you want to reach me on Discord, it's also Johnny.
Nice,
yeah,
nice. And
stay away from social media.
it's a double-edged sword. Unfortunately, you get more cuts than you do anything else. Everborn Saga.
21st, bro. 21st.
Okay, all right. 21st. It's gonna
November.
Be. Everborn Saga. Sell the brand, brother. Talk about the anime you're working on. You got a game that you're working on as well. New York Comic-Con is upon us. Talk about it.
Everborn Saga everywhere. You know where to find me. Xbox, PlayStation, Steam, Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it. Except OnlyFans. But other than that, everbornsaga.com. We are there. C-Money, Doodle, thank you for coming. This is the first time you guys have been on this show, so thank you. Yep. And it's super dope. Yeah, I love the idea of like families gaming together, and you really don't see that. Man. You don't see that a lot, and that's something special. So shout out to you guys.
Appreciate it, man.
I will definitely be tuning into to your show. I didn't even know you guys did a show together. That's dope. But yeah,
we're gonna have all you guys on our show, by the way.
Yeah. So just say the word, man. Say the word. But yeah. Sorry I was late. Got to work. Actually going back to work after this.
Yeah. Well, we appreciate you,
man. My head in here for a minute. So.
Well, thank you for that. And listen, ladies and gentlemen, I want to say a big thank you to the over 600 people we had here this evening. Yes. A big thank you to all of the outstanding channel support through super chats, as well as, of course, channel memberships. Last Friday, we gave away $500 on a 2-hour show. This November, the first week, it's Mrs. Boom's birthday bash. She's November 1st. We're giving away another $500. And in December, folks, for our 6th annual, I believe it is, Christmas with Mr. and Mrs. Boomstick. In 2 hours, we're giving away $1,500 worth of prizes. And guess what? Even if you live outside of the Americas and you win one of those $100 gift cards, we will get you that money via PayPal, as I did with someone from the UK. His name is Yu. He's in the chat. And hopefully him and his family who have COVID are feeling better. And obviously, we everyone that supports us, even if you're outside of the country, we will, in fact, support you. And, of course, I'm going to close out the show with something that's incredibly important to me, folks. Hopefully one day be important to you. And that's something that my dad taught us when we were kids. And he would say, Craig, treat others how you want to be treated. And also, it doesn't cost anything to be nice. You live by those rules, Craig. I can guarantee you're going to have an awesome day. So take care, everyone. And we'll see you next week on the newest episode of Primetime Gaming with Mr. Boomstick and Friends.